way we as women lose fat without causing hormone imbalance is by eating healthy and managing psychological stress. I have 2 ways of managing stress and 2 steps to managing diet, and if you stick around until the end, I have a bonus step that will help speed up your fat loss by improving sleep. The definition of too much body fat is a body fat percentage of 33% or higher in women. If you don't have a body fat scale, the best and easiest way to measure metabolic health is waist to hip ratio. You want to aim for a waist to hip ratio of 0.75, which means if your hips are 40 inches, you want your waist to be about 30 inches. Anything higher than a 0.75 ratio could mean you are metabolically unhealthy, and as women, that puts us at a greater risk of hormone imbalance and chronic disease related to hormone imbalance. Too much body fat becomes a problem when we begin experiencing symptoms like chronic fatigue, brain fog, acne, joint pain, and just if our quality of life is in any way less because of our level of adipose tissue. Let's get into the 2 solutions for losing fat and correcting hormone imbalance. Number 1 is managing psychological stress. When hormones of stress are being released, the body has a much harder time letting go of fat. As women, there are types of stress that impact us more than men. We need to have self-esteem and know that our environment is safe. All the pathways in the body that make and regulate hormones are involved in fat loss. And so we want to encourage hormone pathways that are active in low stress. So when life gets unpredictable, we have 2 options. We can use it to build resilience, or we can let it control us. We know that a female who has high stress and low self-esteem is more likely to become overweight. This is because the food choices that we make when we are in survival stress mode compared to the food choices we make when we feel at ease are very different. So the first step to managing stress is managing what food we eat, which I'll be going over more in detail later on. I just wanted to emphasize the importance of food quality in relation to mood and hormones. So step 1 to manage stress is food. When the body is nutrient deficient, the gut cannot make the neurotransmitters that put us in a calm state. My client Andrika is a great example of this. Within our first week of working together and sticking to a meal plan, she told me that she's feeling much calmer and has fewer symptoms of PMS. This is because her gut is making more serotonin, which is the neurotransmitter of being happy and calm. So you can actually change your personality by changing what food you eat, which is kind of wild to think about. Overcoming stress and losing fat is much harder when the foods we eat are high in calories and low in nutrients. It is true that we can lose fat by limiting calories, but then we are missing out on a whole bunch of nutrients that help our female hormones to rise and fall harmoniously, thus helping us keep body fat at a healthy level long term. The second thing you can do to manage stress is to control your perception. We want to get good at responding instead of reacting. Our body is always responding to the way we think. It responds by increasing the production of hormones that store body fat when we are perceiving something as unsafe. When we see people and events as separate from us, our body responds by allowing fat to be used as fuel. So we want to respond to situations with kindness and compassion instead of reacting, and that will help with fat loss. So I guess you could say that compassion and kindness lead to fat loss, but it also just makes life a lot more enjoyable. So how do you get from point A, reacting, to point B, responding with compassion? It takes practice and lots of time alone. You can wake up early to do this work or do it later at night, whenever you can find time alone. Write down the day's events and how you reacted. Then write down how you would have responded if you could go back and do it again. What this will do is it will actually train your brain to respond with compassion as a first impulse the next time the same situation happens. Doing this practice every day will help you become a more compassionate person, but it will also help you lose fat because your body is no longer in a fight or flight state in response to external stressors. By learning to self-regulate and act differently, stress goes down and therefore so does body fat. We want to respond instead of react. Cultivate kindness and compassion and eat nutrient-dense foods, which I will talk about more right now. The second lifestyle factor for female fat loss is protein and fiber. The optimal diet for female hormone balance is a diet that is high in fiber from vegetables and fruits, high in protein from lean meats and fatty fish, and at the end of the day, it should taste awesome and make us feel satisfied. Protein will help you build and maintain muscle, which helps the body stay metabolically healthy and lose fat easier, and fiber will help cultivate a healthy gut for hormone balance as you lose fat. fat. As women, we want to be getting about 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein per day. For example, if Kelly is 160 pounds, then she should aim for 160 grams of protein per day, which is equivalent to about 225 grams to 250 grams of protein per meal. There is no upper limit for protein intake while losing fat, but I personally have found that if I just focus on hitting my protein and staying under my calories, then fat loss is pretty smooth. Now, let's say Kelly is 250 pounds, that would be a lot of protein. So in this case, Kelly could aim for her goal body weight in grams of protein. So if her goal body weight is 150, then she will eat 150 grams of protein per day. A good fiber goal is 25 to 40 grams. The easiest way to get more fiber is with smoothies and soups. It's easy to add dark leafy greens to smoothies because you likely won't taste it if you're adding low glycemic fruits. Here are some of my favorite smoothie combinations for fat loss and hormone balance. For soups, I will boil bones and make bone broth and add 5 to 10 different types of non-starch vegetables with lean beef, chicken, or fish. And it's usually about 50 to 60 grams of protein per serving and about 8 to 15 grams of fiber. Here are some of my favorite vegetables for bone broth soups and also how I make my bone broth. If you can, try to eat organic and grass-fed. As promised, there's one more tool that can be helpful for fat loss if hormone imbalance is present. If you are someone who struggles to sleep because your stress goes up at night, a few supplements that can help to lower cortisol are rhodiola rosacea, phosphatidylserine, and ashwagandha. Sleep is a huge pillar for fat loss, and if we could sleep better, we can lose fat better. The last thing I'll say is remember that fat is an organ that works a little bit differently in women than it does in men. In women, it helps with tissue repair, hormone signaling, and it even responds to our perceived environment. Subcutaneous fat that is on our legs, butt, and hips may be more important for future offspring, whereas visceral and ectopic fat in and around organs can cause symptoms of disease and eventually cause metabolic diseases such as PCOS, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, and atherosclerosis. So now we have action items for managing psychological stress by changing our perception and choosing to respond instead of react. We also know exactly how much protein and fiber to aim for and what foods to eat. We also know how to measure our fat loss results by doing a waist to hip ratio measurement. Let me know in the comments if it helps and keep me up to date on your fat loss journey. Make sure you like this video if it helped and subscribe to my channel for more education on how to reverse symptoms of chronic disease and just live better.